You can hear me fine. We're all happy days. All good. Happy days. We are on and Monday Night Live. We are back. And what an amazing guest I get to share with you tonight, which I'm very excited about. He's just known as Mike Schneider. He's the man. He's a mentor of mine. He's a Love Me Love You board member. Other people know him as Managing Director of the Bunnings Group, which is an organisation that you may know, being the highest staffed organisation in the country. I'm pretty sure, Mike. I think that's what we're going through. But before we formally introduce Mike, the excitement around, obviously, day 4 is just finishing up for Ride With Me 2020, which, and I've said it all the lives and all the messages and all the posts that we're doing, the effort and the response has been absolutely, truly amazing from all involved. As I said, not just from people in Victoria, but across Australia and across the world, with 30 plus participants internationally. Logging in their efforts and raising awareness for Love Me Love You Foundation, a small community Love Me mental health awareness organisation, education and support training organisation based here in Melbourne. But people are sort of creating creating the conversations and understanding that their participation in an event like this, what it does for the people in their community, and the amount of messages is that I haven't been able to reply to. But there's hundreds of messages coming every day, just of thanks and appreciation for what the event's been about, and the opportunity to put further sort of put another spotlight on the mental health conversation that we're all needing to have. So, but there's over 292,000. Just speaking with this Mike, is 292,000. Plus in the fundraising, and still a little while to go with people to reach their fundraising minimum targets. But as I said, creating more conversations than we could ever imagined, and the event has been an amazing response, and greatly appreciated from all of us at Love Me Love You, from the board, from our chairman, from everyone down, people at HQ, all our volunteers, and just you in general. Just we thank you very much. So, but without further ado, I do welcome my main man, as I said, a great friend and a mentor of mine, and one of the most beautiful, humbling men you'll ever meet in your life, people in your life. So, Mike, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you? How's the backside feeling after a few days of cycling?
Mate, it's not too bad. I've surprised myself. I think I've done a huge amount of training to get to this weekend. It's been a sort of 5-6 day a week consistent training process, which you can see in the back here. Just waiting. It's my sweat towel, just waiting to get smashed tomorrow again, because I've got to reach my target of getting to my 500 k's and 10,000 meters, which I'm a little bit off the 10,000 meters, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm feeling pretty good. But as I said, just from seeing the messaging, and we spoke about this before, just to see the social messaging and the posts that are happening from all over, it's for me, my phone doesn't stop, and it's just been going berserk. So, and you being a cyclist as well, having tomorrow you'll reach your target distance, being participation. So we appreciate your support for this event as well. So, but how's your bum feeling?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm certainly not challenging myself anywhere near as much as you are, but days like today where the sun's out and the wind is down, and the conversations, I know we were talking just before we came on air about how nice the kit is, but the conversations that it starts, is the thing for me. And I think that's always been the really unique thing about Knights of Suburbia, is just the fact that it is a community within a community, and the conversations you have when you sort of meet up with someone at a cafe or on the road, it's a fantastic opportunity to sort of spread the important messages around mental health and mental well-being. And given what 2020's thrown at us, it's probably come for all of us at a really good time. And hopefully over the next little while, getting back into it knocks off a few of those COVID kilos as well. So
the COVID curves, they have attacked everybody. Yeah, although I must admit, from the amount of training I've done in the Petrini Hurt Locker behind me, I've actually lost about 12 kilos since COVID started, which has been a nice experience.
I think it's okay.
You found them, you got them. They haven't been lost too far, so that's good. So I'm glad they haven't been lost too far. It's because they were very loved and very needed in my life for a long time. So, and I worked pretty hard to get there as well. So it's but you talk about obviously the nicer suburbia, Mike, and that's how we met. Many year ago, so going on 4 or 5 years ago. Obviously, the relationship and the experience that young Luke, youngest son, experienced into the nicer suburbia, which obviously was founded by Russell Lee and David Brigney, and that very experience of him in loving his cycling and being a part of that has obviously led to now where we are today. So.
It's played a really important role. Like I always remember still to this day sitting in the car with Luke, and we're on the phone to Riggers, and he'd rung up and was having a bit of a chat because at the time Luke was probably one of the younger people riding in the Knights kit. But the sense of community and that's lived through all the people that I've met, and got plenty of mates that have sort of joined the cause over time. And it's a really great. It's a great way to get the message out. It's a very visible way to get the message out. And, it's always really nice whether you're on the road cycling or driving, you see someone in the Knights kit and you sort of, whether you know them or not, you certainly feel connected and part of the community. And I think when you think about all the challenges with mental health, inclusiveness or being included is just such an important part. Knowing you're wanted, knowing you're valued, and knowing you can reach out to people is so important. And for me, it's great because, you pick up the phone, talk to you, talk to Russ, talk to David, many others, that are out and about on the road, and it does make you feel a part of something. And it's great. It's great to be doing this weekend. As we've done at Bunnings for the last few years, Pedal for a Purpose, which is all about, supporting Love Me, Love You. And it's been a shame to miss that this year. So we're looking forward to doing 2 in 2021 to make up for lost time. But also perfect. And we see the strong pickup from our team and our suppliers who all want to be a part of that as well. So it is pretty cool community to be a part of. Yeah,
and it's and me just being a recent a 12-month-old, just celebrated my first birthday on a bike about a month ago, and it's being a part of this. You said talk about this being a part of the community, which is a big thing for you. And I know that in the work that you do and being a part of the community and obviously advocating around the mental health space is huge. But, you talk about the Pedal for Purpose event, which is one where you host every end of every year, and usually November, and you have all suppliers and all the people come along and they just ride, and we just ride for the day. There's breakfast and a lunch, and we have a chat and we talk about things. And as you said, just the opening of conversations that these types of events create. It creates more greater conviction in trying to and spreading that message. And as I said, that Pedal for Purpose in the last 3 years has raised close to $100,000, which for Love Me, Love You and everyone at the foundation, we're greatly appreciative of and humbled by that very experience every year that comes about. So, and you're taking a punt on the little guy as well. It's the support that you have given us over the last 3 and a bit years, we're very thankful for. So much appreciative.
The thing that always stood out to me was when we ran the first one, and I think we were down at Port Melbourne at the Surf Club for the breakfast, and for days afterwards, the phone calls from people, particularly men, CEOs of businesses, national sales managers, big companies and brands that. I think, it's, pretty well known all around Australia and New Zealand, picking up the phone going, it was so refreshing to have a really open conversation about mental health and mental wellbeing. And I think, for me, it really, hit the nail on the head, that the journey you've been on, individually in the organization you've built and lead as chief executive, is so needed. And making those conversations easy, making those conversations valued, and taking the uncomfortableness or the awkwardness around having conversations around mental health away, and making it a really open part of the lives we lead and the organizations we're a part of, really told me that little guy or not, we were onto something working with you. And I think watching the organization grow and the privilege of joining the board, what probably was close to 12 months ago now, they're the sort of things that, are great for me, because it's an opportunity to sort of, support and help the organisation grow. But I think more importantly, it's just continuing to make the conversation about mental health a really okay one to have. And I think, as we've seen, particularly in Melbourne over the last 3 or 4 months, that's such an incredibly important conversation. And I think as we look to the future, processing the things we've faced into, processing some of the emotional scars that we've had with not being able to get near loved ones or losing loved ones during COVID, this is going to be an area of work that's incredibly important for the, definitely for the foreseeable future, to a point in time where, we've got people easily accessing support and care and finding people to talk to. And the role you're playing is incredible. And as I said to you, I had the opportunity to speak to the now Health Minister, Martin Foley, but he was Mental Health Minister before. And
yep.
when I was talking about Love Me, Love You, he knew all about it. He knew the great work that you're doing. And it's clear to me that, particularly here in our home base of Victoria, the great work you're doing is well known at a community level, but at a government level as well. And that's just incredible.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear, and it's been a long journey, and we had many conversations about what Love Me Love You is being able to do, where it started from, why we do it, and the continual process of that, and your guidance over this it's been about over 18 months in terms of official board member, but obviously as a mentor of mine for a number of years now, the guidance that you give around this space, and I think the simplicity that we both approach the mental health game, just about creating, as I said, very much creating that conversation, the connection, the reality, and normalising the very behaviour, both physically and verbally and emotionally around it, I think is what obviously connects us so well in this space. It's which obviously for you now leading, as I said at the start, the introduction into it, that you are the leader, the Managing Director of Bunnings, and as a person that I know you too well, being the humble man that you are, the culture that you are creating and still creating and have created at Bunnings around that level of community and feel is what makes Bunnings work so well.
Yeah, it's probably the best. Well, it is the best job in corporate Australia, I think. Bunnings is a great brand. It's been built by incredible people over a very long time. It'll be 135 years old as a company next year, and the big box formats, headed to 30 years. And we've just got a great group of people around us. But this is an area of focus for Bunnings and a passion of mine. And I think that giving people things to do, and we certainly saw through COVID, being active at home. Keeps you physically and mentally active, and they're really positive attributes, at a time of uncertainty. And, things like the community barbecues, when they come back, and we announced the Victorian ones were back, regional Victoria later this month and Metro Melbourne early next month, it's almost a sign that, the world's returned to normal when the Bunnings barbecue comes back. And it's a small thing, but it, raises incredibly needed funds for all sorts of community groups. It's $30 to $40 million a year into the community. And, we know from the work that we do with Love Me, Love You, just how much fundraising is needed. And events like, Ride With Me, that's just an amazing number you quoted earlier, $292,000. That's just fantastic when you think about how ambitious you were with your original plans. We realise how important those community dollars are to keep organisations going.
Yeah, and you talked about the sausage sizzle, and not till 5 years ago did I know Bunnings was anything more than a sausage sizzle. So thanks for opening my eyes to that. It's but and you talk about that, the very funny Bunnings sausage sizzle. It is its own brand in itself, and as we know, and I think I read in the report last year that it was $38 million, close to $38 million that was raised for local community groups all over the country, Australia and New Zealand. So it's that sort of idea of being that a part of that, and it's a very thing that people miss. It's quite bizarre how it works. It is a sausage sizzle, but it's a thing they miss. And you said, and when it comes back, it'll be another level of normality that returns to our lifestyles. But and hats off to the Bunnings people, and I've said to this before offline, about just the feeling that you get in there and the response from the staff through Bunnings over this last COVID period, and what they've had to deal with in terms of the people, and there's some people that have been not so nice and not so COVID compliant, we'll call it. So, but the way that the crew have been able to hold themselves has been amazing, and I did commend them one time on there, and just to show that appreciation and acknowledge for someone, is sometimes what all someone needs to make their day.
Yeah, and I think what we employ just over 50,000 people across Australia and New Zealand now. So, in a lot of ways, Bunnings represents, probably the population of a pretty good sized country town, and we serve millions of people every year. So we do get a good window into the community, window into society. And, we've got a team who are nervous. If you think through COVID, they've been worried, they've been on the front line. And you've got customers that are feeling the same way. And the thing that we keep talking to our team about all the time is you just never know what's going on in someone's life. And, that connection that, our team have with customers is huge. And we get, very humbled by letters and emails from customers who go, I was in your store feeling down, and someone went out of their way to make my day, and, went home in a much better state of mind than the way I came into the store. And we see and hear the same, with our team. We get notes and messages from the team talking about their fears and concerns, through challenging times. So I think that, we're a good window into the broader community, and I think that helps certainly me inform my thinking on ways we can better support our team, particularly in the area of mental health and the work that you do, and Dave Attrell, who runs our safety team, and the close partnership that you guys have, that's an important part of it, equipping our leaders, our frontline leaders to be, first aid trained, if you like, for mental health. It's just so important because, and I was talking to Graham Cowan just ahead of, Are You OK Day? And the most important question that, we'll ever ask is, are you okay? The most important thing is to know what to do when someone says, no, I'm not. And it takes so much courage, as you and I've talked about over many years and many times we've met, it's that ability to be able to lean in and give someone support. And, we're not professionals. We can't do some of the things that people that study for years can do, but you can lend an ear, you can lend a shoulder to cry on, or put your arm around someone and help them through a tough time. And it's easy to underestimate how really important that is.
Yeah, and that very conversation around you don't need to have a degree to give empathy for someone's process. It's I think that, but there's the holistic approach that we all need to be taking to create conversations, start the process, make it how it work, and then escalate it where it needs to get to. As you said, no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you do. You said the great fears that have come from this last 6 months, in particular, for a lot of people around the uncertainty and the stress that has caused in many people's lives. It led you to that very point. I mean, we say it a lot, is that you don't know. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know underlying causes because you don't know what you don't know. But what we do know is how we should treat people in every experience that we have. And that is with such care and empathy, and that there's no judgment or bias that comes with anything that we do. And I think that is probably also one of your leadership styles, being the leader of the business, the organisation. But starting from, not many people will know, Mike, but started as a teacher back in only a couple of years ago. But started.
This is what happens when you leave school and you're not quite sure what to do, and you sign up to a degree that your mates are doing as well. And I studied to be a high school history and English teacher, and realised through the prac teaching side of that it wasn't for me. But I did love the sort of buzz of retail. I love the teams that I work with, and 30 odd years later, here I am. But what you were talking about before, Lance, it's that we often say treat other people the way you want to be treated, and to me that there's a dangerously low bar there, because we all put up with, rubbish in our day. People are having a bad day, we put up with it. Partners having a bad day, we put up with it. Boss is having a bad day, we put up with it. But the way I sort of think about it, and the way I sort of, try to sort of have my kids think about it as well, is treat other people the way you want the people you love to be treated. Because when you do that, the bar raises. And, for those sort of parents, someone's only going to look sideways at your kids to know, for you can feel that sort of, hairs in the back of your neck stand up and sort of think, I need to sort of step in and do something here. And, that's incredibly important. But, I think if you sort of think about looking after people the way you want your loved ones to be treated, then, you're well on the path to doing the right things.
Yeah, and you said, and that's true, because we do take a level. We actually drop our levels a little bit about how we are treated, because that's just life. And then we put, as you said, you put up with a lot more things than you would actually like to and appreciate. But yeah, you sort of, but then you go over the top, back to the other person anyway, because that's what you feel like you need to do to make up for that the dropping of level. And we have many conversation about that, but it's the experiences, as you said, from starting, and for the people that don't know about the history lessons, and I think it's a great appreciation of the history lessons of our own history, your own personal individual history, about appreciating where that was to where you are now, and for you being the managing director of the Bunnings Group for this, and to say that title to a lot of people. They might become overwhelmed with that title or experience, or that relationship connection. But the very person that you are, as I said, it's just a good fella. It's just really good at this thing, and I think this comes from what you told me many times. And I quote this, and I hope you don't mind me quoting, is that we're all playing the same game, just on different levels. And I think, remember, we had this conversation with you a while ago about that.
Well, I think anyone that, you think about any sporting side, everyone's got a role to play, right? And if you don't have the players in the right spots, at the end of the day, it's, we sell hammers, we sell nails, we sell, things to make your home better. And I think, the culture of the business is one that doesn't allow you to stand on ceremony. And I think, having studied history, it's a great subject to sort of look back and reflect. And I think the thing that's important with history is actually to look at it in a really honest way. And I think one of the things that's always been great when you've spoken to our team, or you've spoken at the Pedal for a Purpose days, is the transparency of the story that you tell is inspirational, not in just the challenges you've overcome personally, but the fact that you own it. And I think that whether it's businesses or individuals, often we want to gloss over and just sort of play the highlights reel. And the reality is, life isn't a highlights reel. There's good days and bad days, and we all have those, and we all have to face into them. And it's what you do with that, and what comes of it, what growth comes of that really informs. And I think that's what the power of Love Me, Love You has always been about, is just what does the future hold? How do we actually have a world where talking about mental health is the same as, talking about someone, breaking their arm. You can see a physical injury, you can't see mental injuries. And, to get that front of mind, and then say, okay, well, that's where we are today. What's the future look like? And a future full of hope and optimism and opportunity is just massive. And I think that's what, really drew me to the organisation, and it draws me to what Bunnings is about. And there's so many values between the two organisations that overlap. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and you spoke about that very experience, and I said this, that you walked into, and I'm going to say the name of it wrong, so you just tell me the name of it again. The college that was called big business.
Went to business school in France, to a business school called INSEAD. Yeah, I remember that about 11 years ago now. Scared the daylights out of me.
Yeah, and as I said, and we've spoken about this, and the very experience you walking in, and you are there with the biggest of big dogs in this world, trying to learn the same things. That very experience of walking in, how are you feeling there? Because just a guy from chilled out Victoria, just doing his thing, and all of a sudden you're over there. Obviously, many years later, but you're over there and walking into that very experience. How did that make you feel?
The other side of the world, you go to a country where English isn't the first language, and fortunately the classes were in English, because my French is pretty average. But,
would have made it more of a challenge.
Like all good Aussies, you can swear in about 10 different languages, but that's about as far as it goes. Or beer and coffee as well. But yeah, you sort of get people coming along to the course, and some pretty exotic organisations and job titles, and I was lucky that. Yeah. The business I work for invests in people and invest in your professional development as well as your personal growth. But it's hard. You're away from your family at the time. The boys were probably, they weren't even 10. So you're leaving your family for weeks on end. That's a hard thing to do. But yeah, what I realised over the sort of 6 weeks that I was there was, that people are people, and that's something that I think is really, helped guide me as I've met, different leaders and different people around the place. At the end of the day, people are people. And, not a job title, and you're not a, whether you're elected to an office or you're appointed to an office, at the end of the day, people are people. They're parents, their children, their brothers and sisters, their husbands or wives. And, we all have the same issues. It's funny that, 7 or 8 different languages aside, everyone was having problems with, their partner, their kids, their job. And it's a very, what I thought was going to be a very intimidating environment was a very normalizing piece for me. And to me, it was the greatest reassurance that, just being yourself is actually what it's all about. And I think that authenticity in leadership and vulnerability in leadership is needed, because as people want to build a career, or they're looking to the people they've elected to government or they're working for at work, if you can't see that you're working for people, it's very hard to feel accepted and normal. We go through so many different things at different stages of life. When your kids are little and you're deprived of sleep and all the challenges, or you're starting out with, your mortgage to the eyeballs, all those sorts of things, everyone goes through that. And it's that realization that, we're not traveling the journey alone. And, I think that's such an important message. It's been over the ride days, pulling on the different night socks that I've got, it's really important. Those 2 words that are on the back of your ankles, never alone. And I think that, it's that mindset that, we're all in this together, and, we're going to be far better as a community, far better as a society, rowing in the same direction and not throwing stones at each other. There's just not a lot of value in that. And I think that, whether you're learning it in a business school or you're seeing it on a footy oval or a netball court, it's the same all around.
Yeah, and 100%. And as you said, people. In the end, we are all the same in the end, because we all lay down to sleep. And that's one thing that I keep taking back with every relationship I have. We do all these things, and we talk about the fact that those different stresses that are part of people's lives we've talked about, and that is in the very definition of mental health, is that it's the daily stresses of life. But our mental health is how we actually cope with those daily stresses of life, and how we can contribute to community. And we said, we all go through it. There's finance, there's physical, there's relationships, there's social, there's your own stress, sitting in traffic stress, whatever it might be. You're going through a whole range of different things in your life. But as you said, the flourishing component of your mental health is how we actually cope with that. And make sure we're implementing those tools and the practices to overcome the very challenge of a daily stressor of life. But which goes into the obviously work, and you've been newly appointed as one of the founding members, we call it, of the Corporate Mental Health Alliance Group in Australia. What is that all about? What is that going to do? How's it going to save the world? What are we doing there, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's really an opportunity to share ideas across business. I think it's great to have people like you and I talking to an organisation, and sharing and picking up learnings and sort of sharing that across. But the Corporate Mental Health Alliance is a global movement, and the Australian version has just launched during Mental Health Week in October, chaired by Stephen Worrell, who's the CEO of Microsoft in Australia, and an amazing guy. And it's got businesses big and small, some of the major banks, retailers, but right through to small businesses. And its whole purpose is to share best practice. And to make sure that the sort of things that we've been working on with you through Bunnings, are sort of taken, across the board, because as better than most, this isn't a battle that you can fight on one front on one day. It's got to be fought on multiple fronts every day. It doesn't let up. And once the bad thoughts, the dark thoughts, the challenging thoughts get inside your mind, having your workplace is somewhere where you can get support and get help is incredibly important. So for me, I love the fact that I've got this access to other leaders in other businesses and have the opportunity to have good conversations about best practice in mental health. And I think as a board member of our organisation, it helps me, for want of a better term, pinch good ideas that other people are doing and help them come to life through our organisation, because each plays a really important role. And I think, for us, it's a really strong statement of where Bunnings sees, I don't think businesses have a role to play in a lot of social conversation. I think, when it comes to what's going on in the community, businesses need to be good at sticking to their knitting, except in the areas they feel passionate and strongly about, and with good reason. And I think, for an organisation of Bunnings size, as I said, 50,000 team, the safety of our team, whether it's mental or physical, is something that we have a very clear platform to have a conversation about, just as we do about, where the timber we sell comes from, or the plants we grow come from, because they're the right platforms to have. And I think, for all organisations, safety and wellbeing of team is so important. And, I think, as a couple of years back, we changed our corporate safety plans to include mental wellbeing. And that's incredibly important. And I've been blown away through COVID at the impact of the things that we've done in this space has had on our team, and the messages we get, and just how raw and personal they are from our team. We've had team members write to us talking about, loss of loved ones tragically through suicide or self-harm, and to have those conversations out in the open, to me says we've really moved the dial in this space, because, we've got that transparency, where it needs to be. And as someone who's such a passionate ambassador for this, Lance, I know that, that's the sort of thing that, we all hope to see, become much more commonplace, not because we want to reflect on the tragedy and the loss, but to raise awareness of the risk that exists and do what we can to mitigate that.
You said, not to create it as a more commonplace of occurrence, but the very fact that we can have these conversations because people feel safe enough and supported enough to actually be able to do that, and it is a normal part of conversation, which obviously decreasing the stigmas and everything that goes with it. I think we've come a long way, and even so we're just coming on just up to our 8th year of operation as an organisation, and I think this is a really important one for me to note as well. That last week was actually the 9th anniversary of my last suicide attempt. And to be able to actually have that idea and thought process to say that was what life was, but being really feeling safe enough to be able to keep having this type of conversation. And for me, last week, it happens every year. That day, I actually had a bit of a rocky day. And we're working through that process for that day, but it just took a couple of messages from people that they didn't know what day it was. But just that I want to talk about that check-in process that we all do, and we talk about our number 5 and who's in your support crew and that check-in process. By just consistently doing that, we just said very normalised that very behaviour around this space. So for the people that did message me, they didn't know who they were or what they were doing, why they were messaging me, but they did. And just from those check-in conversations, it made my day a little bit better. So thank you to them.
You never know, do you, what a phone call can do, what a conversation can do. And I think, we're the lucky ones to have you in our lives, these many years on. And I know for your family, it's very much the case, but it is the power of the conversation. It is the power of those 4 or 5 people you can reach out to and go, I just need a hand. And, I think we're all fortunate to have those people. And I think it's such an important message to have and to know where to find them. And they know that they're there, and they know that if you're picking up the phone to chat, it's needed, and they make the time to have those conversations, because it's just so powerful.
Yeah, and you're obviously a big leader in this space, and as I said, the mental health advocacy work that you do for us as an organisation, but for the greater community. But you've got young boys, or they're not so young now. Ben, Luke, and Nick. They're not as young, we'll say, because they're not as old, Mike. But it's how important is it to you to have that share those vulnerabilities and those conversations with them as they become young men in this world?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I think anyone who's a parent knows that you do anything for your kids at any time of the day or night. And I think Benny's 21 and Luke's 18, and watching them growing into men that their mum and I are proud of, and their grandparents are proud of, and they're proud of each other, and they're there for each other. It's just so important. But the other thing is that you realise just how bloody hard the world is for people starting out, whether it's, at university or in a trade and working, or, young people working in our stores. It's a really tough world. And I know every generation sort of says that, but I do think the world's got a little tougher, and 2020's thrown that challenge. And I'm grateful that both boys weren't trying to, take on a VCE or something like that in 2020. I can't imagine how hard that's been for people. And I'm sure people watching this that have got friends or family that are doing that. But, the thing that is nice is that this is a generation coming through where having the conversations we've been talking about is getting easier. It's far more commonplace. And I think when you or I went to school, the idea you were going to see a psychologist, something was wrong with you. Now, if you're seeing a psych or a counsellor or something like that, it's, well done, good on you for looking after yourself. And we see it as another form of coach. You've got coaches for fitness, you've got coaches for business. Psychologists are just a coach for the mind, in my view, and the emotions. And I think that's a generation that get that and see it. And I think it's incumbent on those of us that are a bit older and got a few more scars and memories along the way, that we foster that willingness to take that on, because they'll come through processing and handling the pressures that they face far better than the great unknowns that we often had to deal with ourselves.
Yeah. And then furthering on from that, then who do you check in with? Who's your crew, Mike?
Oh, that you're one of them, but and both my boys are in their own ways. They're people that I go and talk to. My partner obviously is incredibly important, to me. She plays a really important role in not only keeping me grounded, but being there as a support and vice versa. And then it's a group of different people. The guys I cycle with, they're great. We've been trying to work out what we're going to do in January, because we've all heard that 2 Down Under's now cancelled, which means we need to find another excuse to go away and eat, drink, and be merry for a week. But those groups are really, really important, because when you're out on a bike or doing something that you just have, and it's one of the things I love about cycling is the conversations you have when you're out there pedaling, because your guard's down, your own self, your strengths and weaknesses are on show. And you have that, and then I've got people at work, I've got some really amazing work colleagues who, when the going's got tough, and, the last couple of years, there's been a few moments that have been, really, really challenging. And I've got colleagues who actually go, yeah, you're not having a good day, mate. You need some help. And I think that's really important, that, you've got the courage to ask for help, but you've also got people around you who are strong enough to go, I know you well enough to know that you're off your game and something's not right. So let's unpack that. Let's have a conversation and get to the bottom of it. So that crew is really, really important. And to me, I'm lucky, I think, we talk about having 5. I'm probably lucky to have, 20 or 30 people who I could go to, but there is an inner group of, 5 or 6, because you're happy to sort of open up to those vulnerabilities, and the trust is there, built over many years to have those really open conversations.
Yeah, and it is, and I do say the 5, and it is about that inner 5, because there is a numerous amount of people that you can have different types of conversation, and we know diversity attacks adversity with a whole range of things, and not everyone has the answers you need. So you keep creating conversations, you create and find until you find the answers and processes that you deserve. Okay, and cycling is your thing. Had been running or has been running as well. Which obviously a big important part of your mental health and wellbeing plan is obviously through the physical exercise, due to the fact that we know that what it does for us. We know the relationship that it has, and you've really enjoyed, as I said, the whole this weekend, the Ride With Me weekend has been amazing, and the weather's turned on for us to be able to do that. And you said before, the very conversation started that the kit does represent from the guys that have designed that and partnered with us with a whole range of work that we do through the Knights of Suburbia. It does give you that sense of pride of why you're doing it, because when the times get tough, even out in the road, when I felt it yesterday, and I set a personal target of doing 200 plus Ks, and we got to 208, but along the way, it was some battles. There were some moments where it's like, I'm good here, you know.
You go
But
from
you know,
feeling really strong to really weak with cycling very quickly, can't you?
yeah,
Like you sort of think,
really quick.
I can really grind this out. This hill, I've got this hill nailed, and then the next one you're thinking, yeah, I need that 13th, 14th, and 15th gear to get me home, and they're not there. But if you've got people around you, it's a huge motivation, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that, as I said, and this is the t-shirt version of the ride. This is obviously from our walk, which didn't happen this year, and that very experience was a bit shattering. But we're seeing the response that this type of messaging shows in the community through this ride, which will then be, hopefully dominoing effect onto with our walk, hopefully into 2021, when we're all excited to get back into it. But you're week away, mate. Tour Down Under is not on. We're actually a part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival, which is the end of March, start of April, which Love Me Love You is one of the charity partners, and we'll be doing a whole heap of activations up there over the week. So, pack your bags, get ready to go up to Queensland at the end of March, mate. But
from Adelaide last year, just how much awareness was raised around Love Me Love You and Nights of Suburbia, and it is the guys do a great job with the kit. I think the kit really does. Cyclists love their kit, right? And it's good quality stuff. But it is the conversation. What's this about? And that chat, and it's you ride past someone in a Knights kit going the other way, you're always going to get a friendly smile and wave, and you did part of that. But Brizzy could be to go. We just need those borders open, and we'll be able to sort of pack up and get going. Hopefully by March we'll be in very safe territory, and we're very lucky to be in a country like Australia and have all the beautiful places to go and see and things to do, and be an island country that has a natural line of defence against what's pretty crazy out there in the big wide world at the moment.
The big bad world, it is, and it puts a lot of things in perspective of what's happening. We're seeing internationally. With the same thing rolling over with another lockdown, more waves of this COVID coming through, and the impact that it's having. As I said, and it is a huge one on people's mental health, but we're talking about economy, we're talking businesses, we're talking about just people's general livelihood, how it's being impacted. But as I said, it's a great opportunity for us all to understand how we pull together. And create these conversations, create the process, escalate the support where it needs to get to, and understand for people that it is this very saying that we are never alone. Sometimes we just need to allow people in.
Yep. Well, if there's anyone out there on the road down on the Mornington Peninsula tomorrow, keep an eye out for me. I'll be going nice and slow, but and Mornington, you'll find me in the morning. So.
You ride with a parachute on, mate, or just to keep it in control?
I need to get one of those electric bikes. I think that's the way. There's nothing more depressing than working away and then someone who's probably 20 or 30 years older than you wearing a pair of jeans and a flannelette shirt, 30 or 40 k's an hour. But that's life, right? So
it happened to me yesterday. We were out there, and I was riding with my cousin Sammy, and we were. I was fanging it, and I thought I was going really well. And this bloke kept catching us at the lights, and he was exactly that. He was an older Asian man. He was dressed in his jeans and his shirt, and he kept catching us at the lights, every light. I was like, "What's going on here?" And I didn't really want to look. And then my cousin's like, "Oh, he's on an e-bike," and I'm like, "Oh." And I think he had it souped up as well. So, mate, he actually was quite demoralising at the same time, because you think, oh, it's one of those. Thought I was on top of it.
I call it character building, and I just need to put a motor in the seat post of my bike. I reckon I'll be set. But no, I've got the weapon all ready for the morning. It's all tuned up and ready to go, and everything's charged up. I luckily recharged my batteries last night, so I did a quick check of those, and I went, oh, that's getting a bit. They're starting to flash red, so they got charged up. So no one wants to ride a fixie for 100 k's, right? So yeah.
Oof. Good luck. And all the very best, mate. That's what you're after. It's but as I said, always, mate. It's a humbling experience just to be around you, because you're just a genuine fella. I appreciate and greatly appreciate from everyone at Love Me Love You, but more specific myself, the guidance and conversations and friendship that we have developed over these years. I thank you very much for doing what you do and just being yourself.
Being
so thank you very much.
You make it very easy to love you, mate. So it's all good.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mike. Everyone is able to say that. I had this very conversation yesterday with my wife, and she said that that's not everyone's opinion, but we're all good, and I'm happy with it because I'm genuine in who I am, and I think that's just all that we can do. Because as you said before, people are people, and you just got to do what you can do. So it's I do appreciate it. As I said, one more day to go on the of the Ride With Me event, which created more conversations, but creates more connection to the very ideas and conversations that we need to have. For those, you said, you'll catch Mike down the Mornington Peninsula, heading down, just taking in all the views. This will be my view tomorrow. I think I've got 88 kilometres or 83 kilometres in here and about 4,000 metres of climbing before I finish off the event with 5Ks with my son Alexander, which I'm very excited about. Which is going to be
the best 5Ks of the whole thing, mate.
It'll be, and you know what? Because I'll be absolutely have nothing left in the tank. He'll take me down and he'll tell me all about it at the end that he beat me. So, which he has been telling me about all with the fundraising. And he asked me if he's still on top, still beating me on the fundraising, and he's ribbing me. So I'm getting ribbed by a 5-year-old.
Cherish the times that you can beat him, because trust me, if you get
last,
I don't think I've climbed a hill better than Luke now for about 3 years. So it's starting to really get hard. That e-bike may need to come back. So.
Okay. So I'll cherish that, and I'll take him down, and I'll let him know all about it until he for another 15 years, hopefully. Well, I've got him. But do appreciate your time, Mike. Good luck moving back, and obviously, with the restrictions open and shops being open again, the stores, the big boxes as you call them, sort of being back into sort of level of operation. And hopefully we get a level of normality, and our world bounces back as much as we need it to. So thanks for your time, and good luck, mate, and enjoy the peninsula.
Right, safe.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Right.